and tell. Just the you record? Oh shit. Show and tell. Just the game I play when I wanna say.
Yes.
I love
I heard
you.
that on Kixie 107.5 the other day.
Come on, man.
I was
Hey.
like, okay.
It's Kimar Kane. I coming to y'all live.
Are we recording?
We recording
Oh,
your
sure,
favorite
man.
country girl. Your favorite
Can I get a 5, 3, 2, 1
and
song?
your best friend.
And we back.
Welcome with the beautiful and
we back.
beautifully talented.
What's up, family? It's your girl, Ashley FG, one half of the Family Tree Podcast.
Look, we're in the building back with another episode, part 2, if you will, of the series of love, the love series. Excited about this one. You know, relationships is an evergreen topic. You know, that's a subject that can go on and on.
For sure.
You know, everybody has different opinions, different experiences, so on and so forth within their dating and relationship experiences. But we're going to dig a little deeper with this thing called love, right?
Let's go deep.
All right. So showing and telling, as we just came in on the record, most people rather show their love in various ways. Some people that's on the receiving end might not understand it so much on how they're showing it, but sometimes they got to tell it. Sometimes they need to hear it. The person needs to say it.
Absolutely.
So we're going to be talking about actually saying, I love you. Is it hard for you? Is it hard for you? Right?
To say. You know, when you think about love languages, I remember when, you know, this whole concept came out and I was reading about it, trying to understand what's my love language. And one thing I understood from, you know, that study or just, you know, just watching how I move in relationships or how I move in love is I am an affirmation type of person. Like, I like to hear, you know what I'm saying? It's one thing if I'm whipping up this good meal and I know you like it.
Yeah.
I see you. But I want
Chef's
to hear
kiss.
you say, baby, that was good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one thing if I'm mixing up drinks, you know what I mean? But I want to hear you say, baby, that was good. You know, it's one thing for you to show your love, but I want to hear you say, baby, I love you.
Faith come by hearing.
That part. So, like, in that conversation or the comparison of showing and telling, how would you define some or describe some examples of showing love that you've experienced in your life? Whether that's, let's start with family.
Okay. Showing simply having a roof over my head, food in my belly, you know what I mean? Even whoopings, like, you know, spare the rod, spoil the child. You know what I mean?
And what they say a lot of times, you know,
It hurt me more than
it hurt me than it hurt. It hurt me more than it hurt you.
For sure.
Doing this out of love. It's
love.
those two phrases I remember hearing, or just hearing in our community when it comes to discipline. But please continue.
Like the roof over my head, the food in my belly, the bed that I was able to get rest in.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when I was messing up, the whoopings I got on my backside. You know what I mean? Yeah, for sure. Like, and I got quite a few of those. All right, I got quite a few whoopings. I wasn't necessarily a bad kid, okay, but I got into quite a bit of stuff. And my mom, I never had the extension cord type whoopings. I never gotten like pots or nothing thrown at me, but my mother has actually put paws on me. She's boxed me before.
Okay.
Definitely got the backhand, and my mom used to wear rings all the time, and she used to backhand me a lot because I had a smart mouth. I did.
You can be honest and say.
I had a smart mouth. And I seen quite a few different belts. You know, she had the thin belt, thick belt, the thin, the thick, and then the little short strap. All of that. So I got a few of those, you know. And she got strategic one time. And something that happened at school. And, you know, she tried to make me one of my favorite little snacks. She made me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Where is this going?
You know what I'm saying? She was putting me in a trick bag. And so I was going to get my sandwich. And she rushed up in there with a belt. And I hid under the table for over an hour. I did. Yeah, thinking that she forgot. Next day, she caught me slipping the next day and gave me what she wanted to give me.
Because they won't forget. They ain't going to let it go.
They ain't gonna forget.
You can run, you can hide.
But you're going to get this whooping.
Yeah. Go get this
I got that love that day.
that love.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, just showing in that way from family, and then just being there in terms of not just mother and grandmother, the people who I grew up with in the household with, but just like cousins, us teaching and learning together, teaching one another, learning things together. Because a lot of my cousins were within the same age bracket, so we learned a lot together over the years, and so that created more so a brotherhood type bond, type love. You know what I mean? Versus just a cousin. Right. So you got that kind of love that was shown. We argue together, fight together, but then like can't nobody mess with us for real because we got each other's back.
Yeah, it
that
might be
love.
me and you right now, but ain't nobody gonna step to you because you mine. And we
That's
family, we're a front.
That's it.
That's love. You know what I mean? I know for me, same. Like having a roof over my head. Like never had to worry about anything.
Yeah.
I remember growing up, some people may have looked at us like, oh, y'all spoiled, but we were loved. Okay, let me talk about that. In my opinion, there's a difference in, the word spoiled when we talk about people's upbringing or the things that they have access to. I think that that's unfair in a lot of situations, and it's the connotation of the word spoil. It's like you say, spare the rod, spoil the child. So in an instance, in my upbringing, that was love. My father being able to provide for us, to be able to do things for us that maybe other people could not do for their children, but wanted to do for their children. Like, you can't make him feel bad or punish us or ostracize us because he has that ability. You know what I mean? He worked damn hard to do it. You know what I'm saying? But there's love. He knew when he married my mother and they started to have a family that he would have to make sacrifices out of love to provide for us. So I agree. Same thing. Growing up in the house with my parents, they took care of us well, and that was the showing of love. But that hearing it, I know for me in particular, in a relationship with my dad, I remember at a very young age talking to my mom about him not saying "I love you too." I remember, I would say, "I love you, Dad. I love you, Dad," and he would say, "Okay, baby. Okay, baby."
Okay.
But he never. There was a time where he wasn't as fluent in saying "I love you too." And for me, because, you think about when you're growing up or you think about just the habit of saying I love you, there's always that expectation to hear I love you too back.
Thanks.
Right? And then so when you don't hear, you kind of think like, well, why not, And I remember talking to my mom about it, and she's like, well, of course you know your daddy love you, right? Yeah. And I knew that, but I wanted to hear it, and so she encouraged me to talk to him about it.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to him about it. He received it. And things changed, which is another point that we make a lot. Like, communication is king, right? In our families and in our understanding of each other. But when I got older and we would have this conversation about that time, I remember my mom saying to me, well, from what she knew about his dad, he wasn't as expressive.
Interesting.
And so that made me think, well, a lot of the pressure and the judgment and blame we put on our parents, we don't know what they went through, right, to condition them to how they respond and how they parent. And I just thought that was so profound, right? So, his father maybe didn't tell him he loved him or he loved him too, or he may not be used to saying that, but he darn sure showed it. But after communicating, it is something, that we're comfortable saying, and I'm glad about that.
I am curious. Because your mom encouraged you to have that conversation with your father. I wonder, how was that dynamic between your mom and your father? Did she have a similar issue? Like, maybe, I don't know who may have said I love you first, but like, was there a tangle within that with them?
That is a really good question. And I don't know if I have the answer to that for sure. Okay. But I'm glad that you asked me that, because that is now something that I'm curious about and I want to talk to her about. Indeed. But even, just like watching them in my adult life and seeing how they communicate with each other, I don't hear that often. I don't hear, I love you. Sally, I love you. Joanne, I love you too. But they show each other they love
say,
each other.
but
You know
you
what I
see it,
mean?
yeah.
Right? So so I don't remember just seeing that. There are times and moments where I may hear it. I mean, excuse me, not seeing it, but hearing it. But no, it's not frequent that I can recall.
Interesting.
But the show is there, but it's the tell.
Yeah.
And so I wonder with that, is one more important than the other? Like for me,
Valid question.
I wouldn't say that one is more important than the other. I think having them both, they both have their role.
Definitely. Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that I would want to be with somebody who never says I love you, but showing me is important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But hearing it is also something that I can't deny and say that I don't want to hear.
Yeah. Huh, yeah.
But then it's just like, do we really know how the lack of hearing affects the development of a child? You know what I mean? And how they see themselves, how they see their relationship with their parents, or their parents' relationship, or their future relationships. You know what I mean?
It's a reassurance.
For sure. For sure.
I would say I would like to see it more. Both are equivalent. I'm with you on that. But if I had to pick one, I would definitely say, showing up.
For sure.
Showing up is half the battle, if not more.
Oh, definitely.
I definitely want my person to show up for me, because I'm a show up kind of person myself. I will show you that I'm there for you in more ways than one. But I'm also going to verbalize it as well. But if I had to pick one, I'd definitely say, show me more than you tell me.
And I think that's why we're having this conversation, because to show up is so important, right? Like in the physical, in the now, in the present, right? To be active in love and however you display that. But we want to talk about the saying too, because we don't want to discount or discredit that.
Big facts.
And so we're talking about, mom and dad, so like at what point, how early in your relationship between a child and their parent should we start saying it? You know what I mean? Like I think about my little niece. I mean, she's just a few days old. I mean, she just got here. And the first night I met her, a couple of days after they got home from the hospital, her big brother, she started crying, and her big brother, he's like, Soleil, it's okay. And then I heard him say, I love you, Soleil. And just hearing him say that, I'm just like, she ain't nothing but a couple days old. She don't know what is, we're showing her that she's loved, because she is well taken care of. She has no needs.
Yeah.
But as early as a couple days old, we're also telling her how much we love her.
Feeling that love and energy.
It's an energy.
For sure.
Yep.
Wow. That's cool. I think you should definitely, it should start as early as that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? A lot of parents talk about disciplining their kids at a very early age, so that they know not to play with their parent, as they continue to grow older. And the same thing on the positive side, say that you love them. I think that's great that the big brother was like, the baby girl is crying. Big brother was like, look, everything fine, sis. Say I love you. Everything gonna be straight. I got you. Yep. It's that, again, that assurance, even though she might not know what that is yet, as she gets older, her body may have that memory.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So, like, moving out of family, I mean, when you think about in friendship, right, as a man, some might argue that men aren't as vocal about saying I love you. What's your experience been like? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a great topic. I think that me and my partners actually do tell each other that we love each other. You know what I mean? So, and we don't even most of us don't even consider us friends. We call ourselves brothers, like we family for real. Yeah. And I have a solid group of brothers, and I tell these guys I love them, and they tell me, hey, Kane, I love you, bro. You know what I mean? Got a text message from one of my OGs in Atlanta today. You know what I mean? At the end of the message, love you, brother Kane. It's like, dang, love you back, bro. But I first heard that, I want to say 2016, 2017.
Okay.
Wasn't quite sure how to take it, because none of my friends have ever told me that before. So I had to sit and process that, and then that's before the vulnerability talk and brothers being able to be more expressive became a popular thing. You know what I mean? And so being that brother was having a heart to heart, just talking about growing up and without our fathers as well. It's like, man, bro, say, man, we gonna be all right, man. Love you, bro. And I was like, appreciate that. We dapped it up, and that was the end of the conversation. I was like, damn, I say, none of my partners ever told me they loved me before. Like, that's different, And then continuing to grow into that with other male friends, it's like, damn, like, I love my bros too, man. Let me start saying it, And then that trickled into going back to the family a little bit. But my uncle, I know we were having a family function one time, and I was a little under the influence, you know what I mean? Had me a couple drinks, and I let my uncle know. I say, Unc, man, I love you, Unc, and that triggered him a little bit because just like your father and his dad, that dynamic wasn't necessarily there for real with him and his dad. They didn't share that affection either. He was like, oh, when I was coming up, man don't say nothing like that or whatever. Like, I say, well, Unc, I say, hey, man, it's a new day, and I say you've done a lot for me, and I want to express to you in so many words to say thank you by saying that I love you.
Yeah.
Because not only are you my uncle, but you've been a phenomenal father figure to me as well. Not more so indirectly than directly. We have conversations. You've shown me things, one-on-one, but in the same breath, just from watching you, I learn a lot.
Yeah.
And I love you for that.
Wow.
And after explaining it, he was more receptive of it, but then you can still feel like the drawback because that's not how he came up.
Yeah.
It was new to him, just like my partner had told, it was new to me.
Yeah.
So I had to process it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, because you meet people where they are,
Meet
right?
people where they are.
And a lot of times, maybe we know and maybe we don't know where they are, what they've been through, or how they may receive something. But we can be the example. We can set the example.
Facts.
Right? We can. I don't want to say create the trend, but we can normalize.
There you go.
Verbalizing. You know what I mean? I love you. I know. Amongst my homegirls, it's interesting. I have like groups of friends, right? Like I've got, my sorority sisters turned best friends. I've got my day ones, and they all know who they are. What up, y'all? I got my day ones, you know what I'm saying? Like going back to middle school, high school, and we're still good.
Yeah.
I've got my grad school folks, people that I met at Ole Miss. We've maintained our relationship. But in all these groups, it's interesting, we all collectively have gone through so much, to the point where saying I love you is a constant thing. And a lot of us coming up from Jackson, right, we know that we've lost friends, we've lost classmates. Saying I love you is a common thing because you just don't know when the last time you'll see somebody or talk to them.
Heavy.
So, spending time showing love, let's talk about that in friendships.
Let's do it.
What does that look like? Showing up for me, supporting me, whether that's a retweet, a repost, or coming up to the show, listening to my music, listening to the podcast, or, however you can support me. What do they say? Support is a verb. It's action. It's in the doing. So, that's kind of what we expect from our friends as well.
For sure.
So normalizing saying I love you, one thing, but you get in a lot of debates about friendships and what's real and what's not based on what friends do and what they don't.
Facts.
Have you ever gotten down to, or has it ever boiled down to what someone did or didn't do to determine or define your friendship? Yeah,
especially if me and my friends possibly haven't been in contact for quite some time.
What's quite some time?
I mean, maybe months.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Some friends that I would talk to more so on a regular basis, time just kind of slowed down. Life happens.
Right.
And then some friends, I just talk to maybe once or twice a quarter. That's expected. But then they still show support, like you said, the sharing, the reposts, and things like that, or just even share word of mouth to somebody else about what I may have going on. So yeah, those type actions help to reassure that the friendship is still solid. Because some people can, and they say a friendship breakup is worse than a relationship breakup a lot of times. Because a lot of times your friends are still gonna be there, even when your romantic interest is long gone.
Right.
So,
right.
When your friends are not showing up in any way through conversation or through just support, it's like, damn, like, I think I lost a friend, And you might have to sit with that for a minute. Yeah.
Something that, I don't know, I just thought about this based off what you just said. Tough love,
For sure.
right? So in the art of saying and doing, sometimes we have to say and do things that our friends don't like out of love. You know what I mean?
Talk about it.
And, that's something that I know over the years I've been trying to be mindful of. Like, I don't ever want to be a yes man or a yes girl. You know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah, girl. Cut to the point. Keep it real. Keep it 100. Because that's what you will want your friend to do.
Yes,
right?
indeed.
So, that's another point when we're talking about saying and doing. Sometimes it's not the fluffy stuff. It's not the who, It's sometimes it's those difficult conversations, but it's still out of love, and it's just as important, right? Kind of like that.
If not more important.
Yes.
Because at that point we're talking about growth.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That friend loves you enough to give you that tough love to see you grow up because they see you in a better light.
Yep.
You might not see it yet. Like, I know I've had to borrow some of my friends' belief in me until I had gotten to the level of believing more in myself. So I appreciate my friends, you know what I mean, for being on my case about certain things to help me get to certain points in my life, certain checkpoints, if you will.
Yep.
Yeah. Need that. Like, if that doesn't happen within your friendships, like, are you really friends for real?
Are we really friends?
Nah.
Like, what is this?
It's a masquerade.
Masquerade. Okay. That's one word to use for sure. So, what about romantic relationships? We talked about the family. We talked about our platonic relationships, friendships, homegirls, homeboys. But in a romantic relationship, speaking romantically, I think the saying "I love you" is a spectrum, right? Okay. Love is a spectrum in general. I believe it's different levels to it.
Big facts.
But I can say I love you, and it mean one thing, and I can say I love you, and it mean another thing romantically, right? So whether that's depending on the person or depending on where we are in the relationship, right? Because you can say I love you to someone, and then I guess because we're so used to I love you being like this tied to commitment, some people misunderstand that. You know what I mean? And they don't receive that. They start thinking like, oh crap, you know what I mean? Like, are we taking this too fast?
That's good.
But can I love you just really mean like, no, like I love you.
Yeah.
Like, that's why we gotta normalize. I think if we normalize saying I love you from the beginning, we wouldn't have that issue or that conflict of thought. You know what I mean? But it's levels to I love you.
Big facts. I agree. That's heavy.
In a romantic relationship, like what's been your experience, or what do you think about saying those words? Like, is there a point where it's too soon? Are you apprehensive about saying it? Do you wait to hear it first? Like, where do you go with I love you in a romantic relationship?
I have waited to actually hear it, but I can actually.
But did you feel it? You felt it, but you waited because you didn't want to say it.
I felt it, and I waited because I wasn't sure at certain times if that young lady felt the same way as me.
It was okay. If it was reciprocal,
I know, so I would rather just wait off in the cut. You dig what I'm saying? Like, I can see the love for me. I'm sure that they have seen the love from me as well.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm gonna wait. You know what I'm saying? And then once she say it, if I feel the same, then I'm gonna say it back.
That's so funny.
That's a fact.
But it's like we all think the same way, though. So then it's like, why you holding back?
Yeah.
She could very well be holding back. So then it's just like, well, goddamn, who gonna say it?
And you know what? Some people dress it up. And they'll say, like, you know what? Man, I like you. Mm-hmm. Or they'll be like,
But you know,
I appreciate you. Or, what else? What else?
nowadays they say, I F's with you.
I fucks, yeah. I F's with you.
For the kids.
For the kids, yeah. So people are dressing up, man, to protect their feelings. You know what I mean? To not feel rejected, to keep a certain level of oneness in a sense. Because again, like nobody wants to feel that rejection, even though they're in sync in terms of the actual relationship. Again, they might be scared that the other person might not feel the same way.
Right, and you don't want to be looked at as if because some people respond to that like, hey, what's wrong with this girl? You know what I mean? Or it's kind of like you get fearful of what's next. Like to just say, like, can we just say I love you and it be that? You know what I mean?
That's good. That's good.
I'm scratching my ear because I'm like, yeah. I feel like I'm preaching to myself.
Yo,
but yeah,
that's fact. That's good.
Kind of like that fear of what's next.
Yeah. The unknown.
And I think the unknown, right? And then I think for some people who may fear what's next after hearing I love you is, again, because they're just not used to hearing it. Like, if it was just normal to, but still had meaning, right? And still carry weight, you know what I mean? But to understand what it means when someone says I love you. Yeah. And to hear it often, right? Yeah. So that you know how to receive it, right? To receive it. Because that's a compliment. Like, you love me? Thank you.
I trust you enough to tell you that I love you.
You know what I mean?
That's like a different level of trust, in my opinion. Also, like,
yes, we clearly had to have gone through something for me to love you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you clearly have done something that makes you unique in my eyes. You know what I mean? Like, there's something I'm getting here or from you that I'm not getting somewhere else. Like, you're special. You mean something to me. I love you that much. You know what I mean? Yep. To let you know that.
And I would say this. I think a lot of people are scared of love because a lot of people these days don't get past the talking stage.
A lot of people don't get past the talking stage.
You know what I mean? And a lot is given within the talking stage, whether that be sex, whether that be time.
Yep. Money
for sure.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Men.
So it's like, yo, are we pursuing something for real?
Yeah.
Or like the Brent Faiyaz song, are we just wasting time? Waste your time with me. But at this point, you did. Yeah. So, but like we getting to the point where we ain't got time to waste time. Maybe a decade ago. Yeah. A decade ago, solid. I was just playing then, but now it's a little more serious. You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking as I build my career. I want a phenomenal woman by my side so that she can shine and we can shine together. You know, what the song say? I'm a movement by myself, but I'm a force when we're together. You know, I'm on them type vibes.
Yes.
You dig?
Yes.
But also, a lot of people haven't really had real relationships and don't know how to, like, operate when it comes to that opportunity. Some people may run from, the opportunity of being with a good person because it's unfamiliar to them.
That's that fear.
That's that fear of love.
That's that fear that kick in. That fear of what's next. The fear of love, which may be unknown, like something good. I've had this conversation with my friends many times. Sometimes we get caught up in self-sabotage. You know what I mean? Because we're used to chaos and dysfunction and distrust in relationships. Yes. And so when we're in relationships and things are going good, it's kind of like this looming pressure for something to go bad, right? And so, like, that expectation. So now, half of your thoughts are skewed to think negatively or to imagine, And that's something that, I'll be honest, that I work on, like staying out of my head. You know what I mean?
Me too.
One of my mantras this year is to love and let be. Like literally, love and let it be. Whatever happens, happens. You cannot control. We get caught up in damage control, right? Because we've been through so much stuff. And at the end of the day, whether someone did it to you or you had a part in it, you still have to clean up and look after yourself after that. Like, you got to take care of yourself after that heartbreak. And sometimes that taking care, that trying to get back on your feet or reposition life after, this heartbreak or whatever, it's damaging. We know that for a lot of people. And so in relationship, that fear of this continuing to happen, you start getting into damage control and starting to do things to protect yourself when really, can we just love and just let it be? It sounds so simple, but it's so difficult.
It's so difficult. You got to be willing. And you got to be ready. You can never be fully ready.
I was going to say, can you be fully ready?
You can never be fully ready to love fully. All right? You can never be fully ready for marriage. You can never be ready fully to be a parent. You can never be fully ready in your career and a lot of things. You know what I mean? But in terms of love, your readiness can be determined by your willingness, right?
Okay.
Spending enough time with yourself, telling yourself that you love yourself, so that, if somebody is to come along, you get those hopes up and like, hey, this might be something, right? But if it doesn't end up being anything, you still got that self-love. Yeah. Self-love is the very first romance. Yeah. I hope that y'all do tell yourself that you love yourself. I tell myself that I love myself. Like, look, Kane, I love you, man. I be like, Kimar, I love you too. Word.
Oh, yeah.
I love me some me.
Oh, yeah. Mary J got this song out there. Everybody talking about it. Good morning. Gorgeous. Yeah. She's talking about that, right? Yeah. Like, talking about
affirming yourself.
Yes, right? And that's so important, It's funny because, you see us writing on our mirrors these reminders and these affirmations, especially in the beginning of the year. And then after so many, mornings of getting ready for work, like, when do we stop looking at that? You know what I mean? So what's the reminder? Like, when do you take the time or make the time, right, to affirm yourself? It's more than writing sticky notes on a mirror, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. You got to talk to yourself. You're not crazy if you talk to yourself, y'all.
I definitely be talking to myself.
I definitely talk to myself. I have full-blown conversations with myself. Not ashamed of it at all. If you see me in the grocery store and you see me talking to myself without AirPods, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, again, faith comes by hearing, man. And you want to talk lovingly to yourself, because we already have a lot of negative thoughts anyway. We have more negative than positive thoughts.
That's for sure.
So we want to talk loving. We want to be impeccable with our words. It's one of the 4 agreements, right? Being impeccable with our words, being intentional with what we say to ourselves and to other people. You know what I mean? Because we want to give out the energy that we want to receive back.
That part.
You dig what I'm saying? So I love you. It's a big deal. It's a reassurance. It's a fire starter. It's a immune booster.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That love vitamin. That's vital. We need that.
Good love feels good.
Good love feels good.
You know what I mean? So for self.
Yep.
With others.
Okay.
In our families. Romantically, good love feels good.
Yes, Lord.
And that's what we want to circulate.
Recycle.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Showing versus telling, man.
Showing versus telling. Show some love today.
Show some love today. Tell somebody you love them.
Call somebody up. Yeah. I seen a video on Instagram recently.
I know what you.
I reposted it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a group of fellas on a campus, college campus. And they were daring people to, like, hey, stop what you're doing. Call somebody, tell somebody that you love them for $5. Yeah. And they would give them the $5 after they did it. But then it was like, man, you know what? I don't even want the money. I felt like I needed to do that. And I said that I was going to do more of that myself. Like, I'm going to make Sunday like my check-in day with my family, with my friends, start out the week the right way. Like, look. Love y'all, man. Like, let's get this week popping. Let's have a phenomenal week. Just wanted to touch bases with y'all, because we can get so consumed with ourselves.
That part.
You know, but we still want to be in commune with our community.
Yeah.
You know, but also remain in that self-love too, because self-love is the very first romance.
Yeah.
So after you continue to take better care of yourself, you can continue to pour, or because Iyanla Vanzant said, somebody said that she was full of herself. She said, I am full of myself, and everything else that overflows, that's for everybody else. So whatever dripping from you, give that to others.
That part. But drip.
Drip.
Don't be dry.
You heard?
I think this is a really good conversation. I'm glad we touched on it.
Oh, man, this was good.
Yep.
It felt good to talk about for sure.
All right. Let's show love. Let's speak love. Let's be love.
Let's be love.
Love lessons part 2.
You dig, part 2, The Family Tree, KC and FG.
We out of here.